Hello and welcome back to Cooking with Chef Dama. Do I have the perfect dish for you for the holiday table? At Christmas we look for wonderful roasts that we can carve at the table. It could be turkey, it could be beef, but I'm going to show you something that's fantastic and very economical. Roast pork. I'm going to teach you how to make a spice-crusted roast pork, and we're going to serve it with a side of cranberry mustard chutney. So without any further ado, let's cook! Now when making pork, we've got to keep in mind that it's very easy for the pork to dry out during the roasting process. And to prevent that and to make sure that the pork remains juicy and succulent, I'm going to prepare a brine. For the brine, we start with 1 gallon of water which we bring to a boil and dissolve a cup of sugar and a cup of salt in it. On a skillet, we toast some bay leaves, some coriander seeds, cardamom pods, cloves, peppercorns, red chilies, and fenugreek seeds. We toast them lightly and add it to the hot brine. This will ensure the flavors infuse beautifully into the brine. We mix it well and then bring it down to room temperature, adding ice if necessary. Next, we work with the pork. Here we're working with a 9.5 pound pork loin, which is fairly large, and so for the ease of brining and cooking, I'm going to cut it right in half. I'm going to brine the pork in an ice chest, which I think is the best receptacle to brine any meat. I cover it with the brine and top it off with a little bit of water to completely submerge it and some ice to maintain the temperature. It is important to add and replenish ice to make sure that the pork brines at a very safe temperature. About 12 to 24 hours later, we take out the pork from the brine and dust off any of the brine spices that may have stuck to it. I set the oven at 425 to ensure a nice sear on the meat, and then I go about drying the pork. The pork has to be dried thoroughly because water in a roast is the worst enemy. We set this aside and go ahead to prepare our baking tray. We line a heavy baking sheet with aluminum foil and then lay out whole carrots and celery stalks on which we will eventually cook the pork. Now to prepare the pork. The first step is to slather the pork with Dijon mustard. We want to coat this well. Next, we need a spice crust to give it that additional flavor, and I'm going to use the Panch Phoron spice blend. This is a spice blend that comes out of India, and it is a combination of mustard seeds, fennel seeds, cumin seeds, nigella seeds, also known as kalonji, and fenugreek. You can get the Panch Phoron spice blend at any Indian store. It is very, very popular, and it is a very flavorful blend. You want to sprinkle this on the pork lightly, press it into the mustard coating so that it sticks perfectly. Next, we flip the pork around and repeat the same procedure. Slather with mustard, sprinkle with the Panch Phoron spice, and press it into the meat. Next, we lay the meat on the tray with the vegetables fat side up. Fat side up will ensure that the roast is basted constantly during the cooking process. We place the pork in the center level of the oven. The perfect accompaniment to pork is a cranberry mustard chutney. You can use the cranberry sauce out of a can or make your own. Spice it up with some nutmeg, some freshly ground pepper. And for that additional kick and flavor, add 2 to 3 heaped tablespoons of Dijon mustard. Mix well, check for seasoning, and allow this to simmer for about 15 minutes. After about 20 to 25 minutes of the pork being in the oven, bring the temperature down to 325 degrees Fahrenheit. The idea behind this is to cook the pork at a high temperature at the start to sear in the juices and then allow a slow cook to ensure tenderness. If you have one, use a probe thermometer stuck in the deepest part of the pork loin and set the alarm to alert you when the internal temperature reaches 150 degrees. Now it may be tempting, as soon as the roast comes out of the oven, that you're going to want to carve a slice and have a bite right then and there. But please do not do that. You never, ever, ever cut a roast right out of the oven. because it's cooking in the oven, the juices in the center are trying to basically make its way to the surface. And if you carve into it, you will have all these juices run all over the place, and your pork or your meat or whatever roast you're cooking is going to dry out. You have to let it rest for at least 20 minutes before you serve it. This will let the juices get back into the meat, redistribute, and that way you'll get a wonderful succulent roast. That's it. The internal temperature of 150 degrees Fahrenheit has been reached. I'm now going to take this out of the oven and let it rest, tent it in some foil so that it allows the juices to redistribute, become succulent. We're going to be ready for the party. After the meat is well rested, cut into thin slices and arrange on a platter around the cranberry mustard chutney and a small bunch of parsley or cilantro for garnish. And there you have it, delicious spice-crusted pork with a side of cranberry mustard. Well, this is Chef Dama signing out, wishing you happy holidays and happy eating.